Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of the Blacklist Season 8, Episode 5, entitled The Freiburg Confidence, which I feel like they said maybe like twice in the entire episode, and that's it.
Yeah, and we weren't sure how to pronounce it, and apparently neither does Reddington.
Hey, that makes me feel better. If Master Wordsmith Raymond Reddington cannot figure out what's going on, number one, you're not a great blacklister because your name needs to be a little bit more notorious. Also, Freiburg Confidence, you guys need to hire like a PR person or something, because this is a terrible name if nobody can remember it or pronounce it.
No, it's tough.
We have a lot of interesting stuff to talk about here because I'll go out on a limb and say there's certain parts of this episode I really liked. There's a couple of things I'm a little bit unsure about, but...
Yeah, and there was a part of it that I don't know if you guys will agree with me on, but there felt very much the Liz absence for me. I'm going to talk a little bit about that too.
Well, before we get into everything, because there's a couple of crazy theories to bounce through. I don't know if we're going as far out as the Is Tom alive debate again, but we have some interesting stuff. Before we get into it, if you guys enjoyed this video, subscribe, because we have a preview coming for Episode 6, which is the big tribute to the late, great Clark Middleton, who played Glenn. So you're going to want to check that out.
Also, happy Super Bowl weekend, guys. We are so not football fans.
That's me throwing a football.
Yeah. That's how much. Oh, and you catching your own pass?
Yeah.
Look at you.
It's my touchdown dance. There we go.
Also, we're going to have cupcakes.
Yeah.
So we're going to have that up on our Instagram, which is Matt and Jess TV. So go follow us over there. We're going to have football stuff all weekend of as much as we would get into football. So
it's really just an excuse to make cool food. Like, that's all this is at this point.
Okay, before we get too far into getting into the episode, I want to take a minute to just talk about the Golden Globes, because they just passed.
Yeah.
And James Spader, again, not nominated. All facts, no cap on God. Like, man, I do not understand why James Spader does not have a Golden Globe on his shelf. It is really weird to me. He was nominated years ago for this role, and nothing since. Nothing. Not a whisper. There's nothing on his shelf. How is this happening?
I'm still stuck on you saying all facts, no cap on God to start that off. But
it's true, right? Like, no lie detected. Why doesn't he have one on his shelf? That was that rant. I just think it's kind of ridiculous that he doesn't have a Golden Globe. And not only that, but just in general, Golden Globes, man. Can you guys start looking at network TV? There was a lot of really good stuff on there. I mean, you were just talking about Michael Sheen the other day.
Yeah, Michael Sheen's great. Prodigal Son. Similar to Blacklist in some ways, but yeah, he's great. I mean, good for Jane Levy for Zoe's Playlist got nominated, but This Is Us. You know, there's all sorts of stuff out there. And I think it's a good jumping off point to my favorite scene in the episode. It's actually pretty small, but I loved it, and I've watched it like 4 times. And it is that last scene with James Spader as Reddington and the bird watcher or whatever we want. I got a couple of, these are where my crazy theories lie in this video.
Matt's got some theories. I think it's a little more like kind of deeper just inside of Reddington, that whole scene. So I'll start because I think it is kind of a what you see is what you get. So he, after everything that's happened to him, and he's feeling really sort of overwhelmed by Liz is betraying him. He's lost some of his money. You know, now the freelancer's out to kill him, but, you know, with Liz and everything that's going on, and the drive has been taken, that it was just such an overwhelming moment that he wanted to go back to the park to just sit and have a moment of being a regular person with another regular person who happened to be there, the bird watcher, and it was just like, hey, nice day. How's it going? Good. Oh, this bird is here. What bird? That's kind of how it went. But I still feel like it was Reddington inside trying to just have a touchstone of normalcy, to be like, I just need a minute because, like, I'm getting run over, and this is not the Reddington we all know.
everyone knows at this point that I love to go crazy with a lot of this stuff, but I will say I really hope you're right in this instance, because...
Well, yours is much more interesting.
Well, mine, well, it's crazy, but I don't even know if it's better. I don't think it's better for the show, honestly. Like, I think it's better for the show if it is sort of exactly what you just spelled out, because I think back a lot to the earlier seasons of the show, and one of the things I really loved is we had these sort of just pensive moments of Red, this tortured soul who's gone through a lot, who's experienced, you know, a fire and great loss and just all of this pain. And this is another reminder that he is a very, you know, normal person, at least some part of him is, even if he's got this big empire and there's a certain facade here. But here's where a couple of things get interesting to me. So this woman notifies Reddington after he sits down. And by the way, this is the second time we've seen this woman in this episode, this last scene. She notes that there is a Cape May warbler. Cape May, the moment I heard that, I just had this alarm in my head. I was like, oh, what is this going on here?
And clearly so did Reddington, because he turned to her and was just like, do I know you?
Yeah, he obviously...
Have we met?
He obviously was worried that, okay, this woman may know something about me in my past, because we all know about Reddington's past at Cape May, and it's one of my favorite episodes of the show. I've seen it an unhealthy amount of times, and so I immediately went there. But, let's take a step back here. Maybe this is just a red, pun intended, herring. Like, maybe this is just the show kind of stirring us up into knots. Maybe they're trying to work me up like they did last week with the Tom and all that sort of stuff, though he technically could still be alive too.
Yeah, he could.
I just think it's better if this is a simple personal moment with great music, with everything just sort of building and just building emotionally for him that he is lost. But I did find it interesting. He introduced himself as Raymond, not, hi, I'm Bob, or insert fake name here, just Raymond.
Yeah, I mean, that's why for me it did feel just sort of like a genuine moment. And especially with that moment where he's like, do I know you? Like getting that like intense, like, oh my goodness, I'm missing something else again. Like maybe this person knows me. They dropped this Cape May bird. Maybe, you know, he's so in his head that when she was just like, hey, I'm Anne. So now we've met. That was the moment where he had that smile and was just like, oh, maybe I have a moment after all to just sit here with this stranger and be normal people.
I also think it is indicative of he sees himself as Raymond, like that no matter who Reddington really is, and we all have 1,000 theories about that, and we've certainly talked about them, I just think this is who he is now, and I think this is what matters to Reddington now, is that he is this person.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other part, I think, big headline with all of this is the drive and the closing scene of Cooper being presented with this. What do you make of all of it?
I mean, Matt and I talked a little bit about this off camera, sort of the idea that did Liz look at this drive or not? And I think she did. I think she looked at it. I think she made multiple copies of it. I think she went through everything with a fine-tooth comb to be able to figure out everything she's trying to figure out before giving it to Cooper, because even when he got it, there was like this one blue folder that when he opened it up, it was like Russian, enter Russian something going on here, right? So, I mean, we've kind of thought for a little while that maybe he's a double agent, you know, maybe he was working in Russia, maybe now he's working for America, maybe he's still working for Russia. There's something that's in there that's always been connected. And now this has popped up for Cooper, which... This episode, I really enjoyed the back and forth with the halvesies and sharing information with Cooper and Reddington, and how good Cooper is against Reddington, that the two of them can sort of toss the ball back and forth to get back into the Super Bowl thing again, because that's what I think football is. That back and forth was so good, and they are so on the same level with each other that it ended up screwing both of them.
This is the fun thing I like about watching Cooper and Reddington, is I think both of them they're so convinced that they have the upper hand on the other person at times that they just sort of spin each other around in a circle. And that happened, and I like that it happened this week without, I don't feel like anybody was an idiot, and I think sometimes the show can make the task force look like they are just like spinning around and falling over, and nobody fell over. Like, I feel...
No, it made Cooper look like what I think Cooper is, which is pretty much the other side of Reddington, a man with a lot of secrets that is giving very little information at a time.
It's true, and this... Following the timeline of things in this episode can be a little bit tricky. So, here's our understanding of things. At the start of it, we see the Freiburg Cop. See, I don't even remember how to say the name properly.
Neither does Reddington. It's all right.
So Jennifer ends up taking this, and she's in this little safety deposit box. She's got all this stuff in there, all this money, all these jewels. She takes the drive. And I know we have a lot of questions about this drive just on the level here.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the friend from the East give right into this drive. We're assuming it's the same drive. He's put it into this box. And then somehow Liz knows to hit this box and they only take the drive. So, I mean, it was a little bit sort of, there felt like there was something that was missing here in this whole thing of like, how did she know to hit that box? How did she know that that was the drive, that drive exists? Like, they're not in contact. She's not in contact with the Force. She does have some other hands out there, but, you know, I wish they had kind of, I don't know, played that out a little bit better.
Yeah, I wish we knew a little bit more. Like, is it somebody Skip knows? Is it something that Liz found out through some, like, recon work? It's a little bit hard to identify. Like you said, it's hard to even identify for sure that this is the same drive he got from the friend from the East. And just a quick little note on that. I know a lot of people have said that, oh, and, you know, in IMDb, it lists that actor as playing Sikorsky, you know, of the Sikorsky archive fame. We're gonna just wait a tiny minute on that before we confirm. I want to see it said on the show before we say anything 100% with it.
Yeah, I mean, we stand on we don't believe everything that's on IMDb because it's wrong more than it needs to be wrong. I mean, I've got a profile on IMDb. Someone that I don't know went onto my profile and added that the film that I made was over $1 million, and I know for a fact that it wasn't. So anybody can go on there and add whatever they want. So take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and ultimately, though, it's possible that it's him. It may even be probable, but we'll just wait for it to be confirmed on the show. But ultimately, what matters more than anything else with all of this is somehow Liz got information that this drive was there. And as far as we know, though, Liz is off somewhere, I don't know, in the hinterlands. Like, we didn't see her.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about this for a second because we're 12 minutes in. So if you're still watching, that is awesome. This is where you might get mad at me.
Don't stop watching now.
So I have, of course, we both seen in the comments that there's lots of people that are frustrated with Liz, that want Liz gone from the show. So this might be the episode for you that you would really enjoy. I'm also frustrated with some of the stuff that's been going on with Liz, and it's been really hard to watch their relationship go from them as a team, working off each other really well, lots of nice chemistry, back and forth with the ball. That's going to be a thing, all this video here. But that, it went from that to now they're against each other. It was difficult to have her not in this episode because this whole story is back and forth between Red and Liz, their relationship. What's their relationship? The mystery's all sort of about them and the chemistry that both these actors have on screen. If you take her away, as frustrated as many of us are, I felt the absence. And that's what I'm going to say about it. And if you need to fight me, just come into the comments. It's all good. I will answer all you guys.
Well, this is the thing with it to me, is that, yeah, I am with you in that I have been very frustrated with Liz here and there, but I think ultimately where a part of this episode falls short is that if you're going to establish Liz as sort of this big bad figure who's building up her own network, I do kind of want to see it because we've already gone through this, whether it be with Alexander Kirk or Katarina, where somehow, some way, this person has all these people working for them and we have no idea how they came into money, what happened with them, and the like. And Liz is the main character.
Yes, this is also Liz's story as much as, you know, this is Reddington's story. It is also Liz's story together, both of them. So if we were ever going to get a chance to see sort of a, you know, she's been built to be able to have this sort of thinking, to be able to start to build this criminal empire of her own based off of the people that Reddington's been working with, why not just show us that? Show us the other side of what is going on.
And plus, you know, I do want to see Reddington get the upper hand on Liz here or there at some point this season, just because I don't think it's really great if Liz wins all the time. I don't think it's great if Reddington wins all the time. If you're setting up this dynamic, it's not as satisfying if Reddington wins or if Liz wins if we're not even seeing her in the process of it.
Yeah, I mean, I want to see a back and forth where sometimes Reddington has a win, sometimes Liz has a win. It's got to go back and forth to be a little more believable.
So at this point, this is where we do question a lot of things about, okay, how did this work? How did this happen? Like, Liz is somewhere off we don't know. I'm guessing one of her associates, maybe Jennifer, maybe somebody else, like a middle person, uploaded or transferred the documents to her, because I don't know how she could have physically gotten the drive wherever she is and then have it gotten back physically to Cooper's coffee cup at the end of this.
Yeah, I agree. We don't know where she is. We just saw her on a private plane flying out to wherever.
Yeah, and so that part of it, I don't know, it kind of boggled me a little bit, but I think we can assume that she read some of the contents of this. Maybe she's got some interpreter or somebody else to help her with certain parts of it if she doesn't understand, or a hacker. I have to assume she got something out of this, because why bring it to Cooper otherwise?
Yeah, she doesn't know what's on there for sure. That's our assumption right now. She doesn't know what's on there. She just knows that it's there. And I'm still questioning how she even knew it was there. So, you know, I've got some questions coming out of this episode that I feel like they could have shown us a little bit more on her side. She didn't need to be completely absent.
Yeah, and it would at least let us leave here and like, okay, now we know a little bit about what Liz did with this before Cooper had it, and all of that sort of good stuff. But now we get to the other part of this, which is Liz deciding, you know what, I'm not gonna help anybody keep the freelancer out of prison. I'm just gonna let this murderer out so I can work with him.
That was actually a really cool plan. I like that, the way that all sort of played out, that she has now taken Reddington's money to hire this lawyer to get the freelancer out, and then at the end of the episode we see Skip there being like, listen, you're basically on retainer for when Liz needs you, and she will need you. So, you know, that's the payment for getting you out of jail. And the freelancer's like, all right, I'll see you when I see you.
It made sense for Liz to do it. I mean, it's really dark because we know that the freelancer could kill a lot of other people.
And we know that Cooper, this is a big betrayal, because Cooper was depending on her and believed in her to show up, where she knew that because she paid for this lawyer, if she doesn't show up, she gets what she wants. And it was such a good setup.
And it's something she'd clearly thought about and planned for a while, and I like that Reddington picked up on it fairly quickly once the pieces started to fall into place. So if Reddington was out of it a little bit, which we can all certainly agree he was on this past episode, he's starting to get a little bit of it back together, which I think is better for the long run of this show.
Yes, especially if they are building Liz to be sort of this all-knowing mastermind all of a sudden, then we need Reddington to be back on his A-game.
Can I also say, I'm just glad that Panda Baker was back. Like, Panda Baker's one of my favorite, like, recurring characters. I just like how she always sort of talks a little bit like this, and, oh, that just felt like you slammed a door in my face, Cooper. She talks in all of these, like, sayings, and it's just very fun and very delightful for me.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think this episode, it's not as jam-packed with content as some of the others that we've seen over time.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest question is what is Cooper gonna do with this drive, and what is on this drive? Because he's got the whole FBI behind him to figure out what's on this drive. So once he figures that out, I mean, hopefully that's gonna open up an even bigger mystery, because now Cooper has the higher up hand on Reddington. Reddington does not know that Cooper has this drive. He thinks Liz has this drive.
And that is important, and I think Liz clearly is setting this up so that Cooper will think that Reddington is a traitor, that he's working with the Russian government. We don't actually know if that's true.
No, we don't know enough yet.
But it's clear that the mission here for Liz is she wants to turn Task Force and Reddington on each other, therefore exposing him, limiting his options, and then apparently the freelancer's going to come in, kill him, and I don't know, maybe a bunch of other people as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of balls in the air right now for Liz.
But we'll see exactly where things go. I guess the last thing I want to say that I did appreciate is Red sort of saying Liz is responsible for her own actions and not himself, and sort of, because he carries a lot on him. And yes, Reddington should have told her more than he did, which he did not tell her anything at all.
Yeah.
But I also think Liz is very mad. Hiring the freelancer to kill a lot of people and potentially Reddington as well, that's like another level of just like...
Liz is an adult. She knows what she's doing. Reddington can't take on the responsibility for what she's doing. He was right to say that.
Okay, well, let's hear from you guys. What did you think about The Blacklist Season 8, Episode 5? Is the Friedborg Confidence in the top 5 worst Blacklister names of all time? Because I feel like it's in contention. Let us know. And if you guys did enjoy this video, give us a like, subscribe, support us further. We've got our links to the store, our Patreon, and we'll see you here next time.